Welcome to the Parenting in the Digital Age podcast. Many parents are concerned that their child might be falling behind. Others are just looking for ways to help their children thrive, not just in the classroom, but socially, and well into their future careers. Each episode, we explore the challenges facing parents in the modern world, from behavior, education, and nutrition to device and gaming addiction. We interview a range of leaders in the area of childhood development to help you successfully navigate parenting in the digital age. Here is your host, Jamie Buttigieg.
Hello and welcome to Parenting in the Digital Age, the podcast where we delve into the unique challenges and opportunities of raising children in today's fast-paced, tech-driven world. Each episode features conversations with experts and thought leaders who provide actionable guidance and practical insights for navigating life as modern parents. Today we have Angelica Stevenson, a multi-award winning author, counsellor and mother of 7. Angelica's unique approach to parenting and self-improvement, combined with her talents in writing and her holistic program called Higher Connections and Communications, offers a fresh perspective on parenting in our digital era. Let's explore her journey and insights. Hello, Angelica. Thanks for joining us. Please share with our listeners in your own words what you do and what you are passionate about.
Yes. Hi, Jamie. Thank you for having me. Hi, listeners. My name is Angelica Stevenson. I am a mother, wife, homeschooler of 6 children, but mother of 7. I had a miscarriage in 2015, but she's always part of our life. And I am also a award-winning author, and I teach from my program, Higher Connections and Communications, to help parents be at one with themselves, to help parents be more connective to themselves so they can connect to their children and have better communicative relationships so they can accomplish their goals and dreams. Because though we're a family, it's not a me thing or a mom thing, it's a family thing, and we still all got our goals and dreams that the parents can still do while helping the children to accomplish their goals and dreams as well.
Fantastic. So starting with the basics, maybe share a bit about your background. How did you end up where you are in writing books and helping parents?
Wow. So my introduction to writing was literally love at first sight. My English teacher, Mr. Hart, in middle school had us do a poetry assignment, and I was one of those, I wasn't very popular, so I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to stand up and share it. But when I finally did, I felt like I had an out-of-body experience. But when I came back, I realized something happened, and it literally changed my life. And at that moment in time, I vowed I was going to use my writings to help people, no matter what I went through, good or bad. So ever since middle school, I've always helped people. I've always spoken poetry. I've always had people come up to me, and whether they were adults or children, and I called myself the street counselor because I was literally on the streets counseling people. And then as I became a mother, that helped me to focus to help parents more as I started to learn the type of mom that I wanted to be when I first became a mother, how I started on that path, but then got off on that path, and then got back on it again by changing the way I think, the way I speak, and the way I act.
Fantastic. A little bit about your mission. When I was doing some pre-show research, your website says that your mission is about walking in one's soul's purpose. What does that mean? So
the soul is, there's the Bible verse, God breathed into the body, it became a living soul. And then there's the soul, it's the animating life in the body. So our soul is what we're put on this earth to do. So we have a purpose. We all have a purpose on this earth to do. And I'm here to help people walk in that purpose. And it says to complete and fulfill your life's missions. So whatever's going on in your life or where your life leads you, you have a mission. So I have a mission as a mom. I have a mission as a woman. I have a mission as a wife, a mother, as an author. These are all missions in my life that I need to fulfill and complete with the gifts, the talents, and the powers that I was born with.
Interesting. And it's interesting, this notion of purpose and one's mission in life. We'll get to parenting in a second, but what advice do you have for people who might be out there struggling, feeling like they have no purpose or no sense of, understanding of their mission? Or how do you help people find that?
To do that, it goes back to taking them back within inside themselves. That's one of the levels in my program where you have to go back to what you love, what you're naturally good at, and basically cleaning out your mindset, like cleaning out what was put into your mind and put back in what you want to put in. And just getting back to knowing who you are. And if that means letting go of old thoughts, let go of it. Old relationships, let go of it. And old speaking, to know what your purpose is, because you do have a purpose. Like all people are gifts to the earth, and they just need to unwrap themselves so everybody else can see why they were present here to them.
And it's such an important thing for people to do in, discovering their purpose or their mission in life. I think it's so critical for mental health and for all other things in life. But I think there are certainly some people that struggle with that. So getting back to what you love and an understanding is certainly helpful. Into homeschooling, let's talk about parenting for a second. You've got 6 kids with us, and they're all homeschooled. Is that right?
Yes, all 6 of my children are homeschooled.
Fantastic. Okay, well, talk to me about homeschooling. What are some of the challenges of being a homeschool and a homeschool teacher and mum? And then we'll talk about the flip side. What are some of the wonderful benefits and experiences you've had in that same area?
Got it. So one of the main challenges I have for being a homeschool mom is sticking to how I want to homeschool, how I want to educate my children. And it's not me, I'm getting over it. And I was still to sure that I am combining it with what they want to do, because all my children already know what their career path is. Like, I've raised them from the womb. So the way I do it is I teach them according to their career choice, what their natural gifts are and what they love. So the challenge is to make sure that I'm still doing that while they're still keeping up with what's required for their career choice if they do decide to go to college or when they do want to get a job, and to make sure it still lines up with what my husband wants them to know as well. And the time, make sure I manage my time well, because I'm more of I go with the flow. That's who I am. So it's all about balance with how I am, with what my children need. So it all works out perfectly.
So can I ask about what is the age range of your children?
Yes, they all have birthdays this year. So they're 12, 10, 9, 7, 5, and 2 years age. 12 to 2.
And you said something interesting. You said your kids kind of know what they want to do as a career. How did that come about? And, what if they change their mind? Or is this just, finding something they're interested in at a moment in time that can change? Like, talk me through that.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm good at observing and analyzing, connecting. And I've watched my children from when they're young to see what they're naturally drawn to, what they're come naturally without being taught. That's a gift, a natural gift. And I'm artistic. My husband's artistic. So, of course, art is one of them in some way, shape, or form. So observing that and then giving them the freedom to be it and do it and see where it takes them is very important. And yes, sometimes it does change. Like my eldest son, Alexander, he's naturally gifted at musical DJing, rapping. He's also naturally good at building. Like, he built a whole city out of cardboard box. So engineering. And then I also see how he's all about right and truth and making sure people follow directions. I think he'd make a great judge someday, But then he loves trains. He taught himself about trains. So it's knowing that I see what they're naturally good at, but not keeping them restricted there, allowing them to grow and see what as they develop, what they grow to, and keep that and combine it together as well. Because one day he could be a judge that does engineering, driving trains on the side while making his own music. You never know.
The sky is the limit. It's a wonderful philosophy. Definitely a wonderful philosophy. So talk about some of the wonderful observations of being a homeschooling parent. What are some of the great outcomes or experiences, or just some wonderful outcomes that you've experienced as a homeschooling mum?
That's a great question. So I've experienced how I'm able to take my time and let them take their time. Like, I don't have to rush and force them and push them ahead to another subject just to keep them moving forward. Because unfortunately, some school systems do that. And that's not helpful in the long run to my children. So I can be able to slow down and have them take their time, whether they're keeping up or not. It doesn't matter about them because it's their life. I love that they are able to be free in their own learning. So we also do unschooling, where the child learns based on their interest and their passion. And it takes them to sometimes questions I may never thought of or may not, and we're not there yet, but they want to be there. And it just helps me to what it is to be human, to live free. You know, children are all free. They're not restricted. And I love seeing that freedom because it reminds me to be free and not be so restricted to society's guidelines and norms, so to speak, to just be who you are and live. And those are like the main lessons that I get from my children when I watch them and when I school them, and being able to put it all together and have them help teach each other. You know, the eldest will teach the youngest, and sometimes the youngest will teach my oldest. Because my son, who's 5, he's a great speller. He'd be teaching them how to spell words. They'd be asking them, hey, or how do you spell this word? And he tells them how to spell it. Very cool.
That's fantastic, and you're so right. You know, not through the fault of our wonderful educators and teachers, but the system is fundamentally flawed. You know, broken is a strong word, but it's definitely flawed. There are some challenges there, and it does kind of constrain our children's thoughts. You know, and put guardrails around what potentially they believe could be possible within themselves and of the world. So I think you've come to a wonderful conclusion and view on that, Angelica. You talk about the healed mother. So can you elaborate on what being the healed mother means to you and potentially how it shapes your parenting journey?
Yes, the healed mother is one of my 4 expressions that I use under the Angelica Expressive Connections brand, your channel and podcast. And that came to me when I realized I was not being the parent that I originally wanted to be when I first got pregnant. I got away from it, and I was sad. I felt very sad, regrettable, but I realized it's not done yet. I'm still alive. My children are still here. So the healed mother, so it's the healing, recognizing that I need healing, and healing is on the way, while also remembering I've already been healed, and I continue to be healed from things as a child, things as an adult, as a woman, and even parenting actions I may have done and will do, or hope won't do, but if they ever come to pass, I am in the journey of always healing and being healed to be the best mother that I can be for them and for myself.
Exceptional. Skipping back to homeschooling for just a second, as a parent in a digital age, how do you manage your children's engagement with technology?
Oh, man, that's a great question. When they were younger, there was little to none electronics. All we had was a TV, and I used like YouTube and movies. Like Have Fun Teaching is a great channel. I'm not getting paid to mention that. But that was a great channel to learn and have leapfrog. And then I used movies like Monster High to teach my children. And then later, you know, I've learned about other curriculums like ABC Mouse. I'm like, oh, okay, so I got them some little Kindle tablets. So I said, okay, this is just for this only, you know, because it's very important to know what goes into our children's brain. And I was like, hey, it's my job to protect what goes in because they don't have their filter yet. And it's my job to filter that as best as I possibly can. And now that they're older, they all got their own tablets. You know, we add a game on here and there, you know. Like, can we get more games? Sure, you got to delete one. You know, you have certain hours and time. So it's still about balance, always about balance. Yes, I know my children want to be on electronics, but at the same time, I need them to understand it's for learning purposes only. It's not a need. It's a want. You can learn without it. Go outside and be a child. We're going to go outside and be a human being. So I do have set time on when they can be on their electronics for learning and then also for free time. And I monitor what they're actually doing on their electronics as well.
Sounds like a sensible approach, and I love that call back to old school parenting, if you like. I think it should just be parenting 101 is get outside and explore, just go and climb a tree and, find a friend in the street, just find a random kid and say hi. And,
Yeah,
that's kind of what we did. And some of that is somewhat lost today in this digital world when kids are getting caught up in technology as their friend or technology as their social connections. And I think that's look, I'm in the world of teaching kids tech and coding and things like that. I want to help kids have a healthier relationship with tech.
it's awesome.
But, and I think that, that unrestricted view or seeing kids forge relate and where their only relationships are online, I think it's a scary and slippery slope for many. You talked about encouraging your children to pursue their own interests, which is a really important point, an interesting point. How do you encourage that specifically, like to a parent that sort of hears that and goes, yeah, like I want to encourage my kids to pursue their interests, like, but, how do you do that?
Okay, great question. So first you gotta know what they're interested in. That may sound like common sense, but some parents don't know what their child is interested in. So it's definitely take a moment just to do your school breaks to observe your child, what they do, and let them just talk to you and just let them listen, and find out what interests them. What do they get excited about? What do they get happy about? And then find tasks or not tasks, like lessons or games or things around your community to fuel that interest, to give fire to that interest and to actually do it with them. Like you ain't got to understand it. It's like things my son talks about. I don't know how to understand, but I still am interested in it because he is, So I know what they're interested in, and I look and I search for activities in our community or even online to help with their interest, whether it may be a class, whether it may be going out to a community event. Like for instance, my son, he is interested in being construction, been involved to a construction driver. So we went to this event for organizations for their employees to learn more about the safety of construction. And I didn't know it was like that. But when I went there, people looked at me like, what is this woman doing here with her 5 children or 6 children? What is going on? But they just let us be there. And we just listened. We asked questions. They're like, wow, your children are very wise. They know some stuff about this. I'm like, yeah. It's just things like it's opportunities and actions like that take your child's sights and their interactions and their relationships and their communications and their life to a whole new level where they won't think, oh, all I have is just this book or just the screen or just what the school is telling me. There's so much opportunity out there. I just got to get up myself and put in the work and go find it, and it will be there.
That's certainly a fascinating approach. What advice would you have? Like, let's say I'm a traditional parent. My kids go to a normal kind of school. But it's really interesting for me and many other parents, I'm sure, looking in at a homeschooling family and hearing those benefits and hearing those outcomes, seeing the engagement, because there are obvious benefits, right? There's no question. So what advice would you have to maybe a traditional parent who's considering homeschooling or, the parents who think, well, I've got a career, I can't possibly homeschool, who think they can't but maybe can.
Right.
Well, give us some advice here for those who are curious but, think that it may not be possible for them.
Got it. So first and foremost, just because traditional schooling, like you said, there's nothing wrong with it. Just don't leave the teaching up to the teachers. Parents, you are their first teacher, no matter what. And take some time, like when you have your days off or your vacation times, to go on a field trip, to go on a vacation and incorporate what they're learning or something new into your daily activity. Like shopping is one of them. That help them scan some groceries, help them know how much to pay the person. Like I incorporate teaching into everything that we do in some way, shape, or form to help them get practice at it. When it comes to homeschooling, it is for some people and it isn't for others. That's okay. As a parent, as a person first, you need to be honest with yourself about who you are, because that does play an effect to how you are as a parent, which will then play an effect into how you teach. If you're a person who really doesn't like being accountable for somebody and doesn't like teaching people, whether they're your child or not, then don't be. a homeschool teacher. I mean, don't homeschool. That's okay. Just incorporate more lessons, more learning outside of school to to help them process and get more. So I would say test it out first. If when you have winter breaks or whatever breaks you have in your school year, test it out first during that time. Take a day and see how you would use that day as being a homeschooler. If it's good, great. Take another day. Include your work schedule in that day, and see how you would do as a homeschooler. And see the outcome, see the benefits. Make that list positive or negative, and see how it outweighs. And I always believe that you will always do what's best for your child. And sometimes doing what's best for your child is getting people who know the information better than you, teach them while you are on the guidelines. Like my sister, she's a teacher. She's a great teacher, and she still lets her child go to school. But she's always on point with going up to talking to the teachers. If something's happening, she's up there asking questions. She has a relationship with them. And that's what's important, is just always being involved in your child's academic education, whether it's at home or in a traditional school building or a private school. Just always be involved.
Yeah, some important. I'm writing notes madly here because there are some good points there to unpack. You've got, first of all, don't leave the teaching to the teacher. So many parents, I even see through our own learning centres, just kind of, dropping the kid off and kind of that's it. You do the teaching. And we see that in the school system. So first of all, don't leave the teaching to the teachers. Great philosophy just to have up in your brain as a parent. And this notion of incorporating teaching into daily activities, like you only need to walk through the shopping centre these days. And it can be a sad sight, like seeing mums with a kid in a stroller or a pram or a trolley, just on their phones, just walking. Just they're there to get the chores done,
Right.
And the kids are just sort of tagging along with But incorporating the kids in those daily activities, like give the kid $10 and say, go and find me this, this, and this.
Right.
Find me the best price on these, and go and get them and bring them back to the trolley and buy them.
Exactly.
And let them have that human exchange with the checkout person and or the automated checkout. Sending them on missions to ask questions or find out things about products, whatever. But perhaps there's, for some parents who maybe love the idea of homeschooling but maybe don't have the ability, the skill set, or the career doesn't perhaps permit it. I get that, but I wrote something down here, and what it says: have a homeschooling approach to parenting. Have a homeschooling approach. So I love that idea of getting your kids out for a field trip. Don't let your kids be a passive passenger in life.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing. There were some good things to unpack there. Let's see. I've got something here. You're talking about movies and film reviews. How do you incorporate that into parenting?
That's good. So I mentioned before, when I first started so-called homeschooling or unschooling, we watched Monster High, and I love those movies. And I basically would ask questions about it, like that would test their critical thinking and their comprehensive of what they're watching or what they're putting in their brains, and finding the lessons that they can get out of it. Like The Great Scarier Reef, that was a lesson of one of the characters be able to be confident in themselves, be able to overcome and let go of past fright that happened so she can be her best self now. That's something that we all deal with in our daily lives, to let go of past situations, learn to forgive people. And then movie reviews, like I watched Guardians of the Galaxy, and I had one of my episodes is talking about it's called Honor Among Thieves, and it talks about how you can be honorable, how thieves we can learn how to be honorable by learning from thieves. And in it, I said that there's a phrase that people like to say, actions speak louder than words. That leaves you imbalanced. Your actions and your words should always align. They should unite. You should be saying what you're going to do, then do what you're going to say. Because if not, you're imbalanced. So I teach my children, you need to say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say. If not, then don't say it, then don't do it. Think before you speak. So being aligned and make sure our actions and our words line up is one of the very important lessons that I teach my children, because before physical contract, like paper contracts, that phrase, my word is my bond. And I want my children to know, hey, if you're going to say you're going to do something, well, the person know I'm going to do it. If it takes me some time, I'm doing it, but it's coming. Let your word be by your bond. Stand by your word. Stand by what you do, whether the consequences are good or bad. You have made a mistake, still stand by it, learn from it, and just do better next time.
Now, I think there's still some truth to actions speak louder than words, though. Like, I 2,000% agree that you've got to stand by your word and do what you say, walk the walk or walk the talk, we say in our household. But, I think when it comes to contribution, humility, being humble, the actions can speak louder than words. So literally how we contribute to society without advertising it, without big noting ourselves. Let our actions speak for who we are as a human and what we represent. So I think that there's still an ounce of truth in that, but I do get where you're going. Let's talk about self-care for a minute, or self-improvement. That's something that's clearly important to you in what I read. How do you model self-improvement to your kids? How do you teach them about this constant learning and development? What are your own self-care or self-improvement practices?
That's a great question. One of the actions I installed in my children when they were younger is a way to deal with their emotions is by taking self-time. So they know how to do self-time. They don't say, hey, I need some self-time. My son who's 5, like, I need some self-time. My children were 4. I need some self-time, Mom, right now. I'm feeling upset, or they're feeling angry, or they're not able to think clearly enough. Take self-time. Take a time to yourself for as long as you need to get back in order, to get back in control, and then come back to what you were doing, because you can't take back the words that you say, the actions that you do, and the consequences that come from them. So self-time is very important in our family, and being able to tell each other when we need self-time or advise it. Like, my children have permission to say, hey, Mom, I think you need self-time. When if they see me getting a little bit overwhelmed. They're like, hey, Mom, let's go take a break. I'm like, hey, thanks. And they're like, hey, don't tell me that I'm your mom, but I will in a moment, thanks. I acknowledge it while still feeling how I'm feeling, and be like, you're right. And then I come back and say, hey, thank you for that. But doing actions that you love, that bring you happiness, basic, hygiene care, washing your bodies, your teeth, your hair, face, eating right, drinking water, and doing what you love, what makes you happy. These are all aspects that incorporate self-care or self-love, or putting yourself first in balance while still helping other people too.
Yeah, well said. And it is important to model what we're expecting, what we're trying to build and grow in our own kids. Before I ask my favorite question on every podcast, tell us a little bit about your program or your book or both. Just give our listeners a bit more insight as to what you do and perhaps how they might want to connect with you.
Got it. Great question. Thank you. So my program is called Higher Connections and Communications. It's been in the works since, like I said, middle school. I didn't realize it until 2019 that I was living it. It's a lifestyle where you learn how to go higher within yourself by first connecting to who you are, knowing that you are connected to all creation, and then communicating and receiving communications from all creation as well. So it's an 8-level program, and it's designed, and it counsels you. It literally helps you be better. It helps you to change who you are from the inside out, whether it's an old mindset, words, actions, thoughts, family relationships. It helps you to see these in a different way and to go above what you're actually saying, or to go higher than what somebody else has told you, so that you can see and get a different outcome than what you want. And it's great for any age. Like, I had my children when I was on Instagram. They helped taught my program based on their understanding at the time and what it meant to them. And they still continue to learn from it. Like, one of the levels is called, I'm working with the title, keep messing with it, but it's basically about your self-powers, like that self-leadership, self-accountability. So each day, I'm like, what self-power are you going to use today? And how are you going to use it? Well, I'm going to use self-leadership. I'm going to use self-control to keep my emotions in check. I'm going to use self-strength. So I'm like, okay, that's good. And then we talk about the different power tools that you have to use and to create your life, how to change how you see to manifest. How do you do that? They know about the different areas of your life. Because if you didn't know, all our human areas can be consisted of 12 categories. That's it. And they're aware of this now, so they know how to balance each of those categories and how to treat themselves and others to live a life of right balance. Because I like karma. I do believe in karma. You know, what you put out is what you get back. So know what you want so you can put that out and so you can get it back. And that's what my series, the Karmatic Way series, is about. The first book is Side Effects. I basically took that phrase, karma is a blank, a female dog, you know, and I turned her and I broke down her etymological definition about what she is and how she's able to, and she starts speaking and teaching in the lives of 4 women who are getting affected by their parents' karma consequences later during an investigation, but their parents are dead. So they have to figure out how to navigate and still get their own goals and dreams while still dealing with their parents' consequences. And I feel like that's very important. We need to understand that our actions affect now and in the future and in the future. So we do our best to get it now and learn how to change our situation so when those consequences do go back or come back, we can deal with it the best way that we have and know how to change them to get what we want.
And the program, Angelica, is it alive in person? Is it online? Is it a self-paced program? Like, what does that look like?
It actually, it's not completely online. I teach it. It's in my books. It's in my podcast. When I do speaking or presentations, I do teach it. I teach it either from all the levels or from one level at a time or from a lesson in the level. Right now, I'm on a direct contact booking right now only because I'm focusing on my family first, you know. So I'm balancing it by, hey, I am available booking. Contact me directly and let me know what you want, and we'll work together. And I will present to you a unique presentation, like specifically for your event, for your theme. And I give that to you for you to keep or for your audience to use to help achieve the goal at hand. And the Higher Connections and Communications program will help them to do it.
Fantastic. And where can people find your books?
Great question. My books are available online. Online at Amazon. You can go to my solo page, solo.to/Angelica Stevenson. That's my poet and writer, page. And then for the speaking and teaching page, that's solo.to/higher living for the Higher
Fantastic
program.
We'll put those in the show notes as well. Okay, fun question. So if we had a time machine, a hypothetical time machine, theoretical time machine, one that you could travel back to your 12-year-old younger self, what would Angelica say to the young Angelica? Give one piece of advice. You got one shot. What would you say?
Nothing.
You'd give no advice. This is the first time I've heard this on a podcast. No advice to your younger self.
No, I wouldn't. And I've thought about that so many times because there are some things I would love to take back or change or do differently. But then I realize all of that has been made up to be who I am today, And if I happen to do that, then what if something changes? What if I don't have my children? Like with my son, my eldest, he's the one that brought me and his dad together. Like I had a dream about his dad before I met him. And it was a scary dream, it wasn't one of those, good vibe dreams. That's my love of my life dream, So if I probably would say something, what I would have said most likely would have stopped that from happening. Then I wouldn't have had my son. And then I wouldn't have had so many great experiences. And even the negative experiences, but all to help me to be better and to, that I am today. So I wouldn't do anything.
That's a wonderful answer and very different to what many of our other guests have given. And I've often said that one day when I get to episode 100, I want to write a book and compile everyone's piece of, because I asked this same question to everyone on the podcast, and there've been some, amazingly insightful, as yours is, answers, and share that advice with the world. These are 100 experts and thought leaders and beautiful people who are sharing their one most important piece of advice, and that's really interesting. Angelica, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. I wish we had more time to do some more, but maybe for another podcast. So thanks again for your generosity, and I hope we cross paths again soon.
Yes, thank you too. Can I say one more thing I forgot that I mentioned when you mentioned about homeschool?
Of course.
And parents?
Of course.
Okay. So parents, if you decide to homeschool, one of the things I had questions too about is the cost of curriculum and not being able to have the skills to teach. So there are wonderful programs online that are free to low cost that will teach your child for you, that will do what you're unable to do. You just got to search for them and know and ask people in your homeschooling community what they use. Because they're out there. I know with me having 6 children, I search for programs that I can include all of them under one account, one price. And thankfully, I've been guided to them so that they can all use it. So don't let that be a factor to stop you from homeschooling, because if you really want to do it, money will come its way, because you are money, you can attract money, and you have all the access to it. Right.
Yeah, well said. And the other good point there is get involved in a homeschool community. Surround yourself with other like-minded parents and caregivers, because that's an important resource for that journey. Angelica, thanks again for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a fantastic Christmas.
Thank you too, Jamie.
Cheers. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed the show, please connect with Jamie on LinkedIn or Instagram. You'll find links in the podcast description. Parenting in the Digital Age is sponsored by Skill Samurai, Coding and STEM Academy for Kids. Skill Samurai offers after-school coding classes and holiday programs to help kids thrive academically and socially while preparing them for the careers of the future. Visit skillsamurai.com.au.